Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UnWrapped podcast. I'm your host, Emily Vogel, and of course, we are here with your other host, Andy Ortiz.
Hello.
Andy, I'm going to ask you how you are and everything, but are you wearing a cloak? Like, what are you wearing right now?
Yes, I am.
It's not even a robe. That's like a wizard cloak. Like,
look.
Okay, I'm just going to point out, too, if you're listening, you can also view our full episodes now on the TheWrap YouTube page, so please check out and come watch this. Andy, can I tell us about your cloak? What, like, is this on theme? Like, does this have to do with Christina Ricci? Oh,
no,
who is our guest?
Doesn't.
We'll get into that.
It really doesn't. I don't know if the technical name for it is a cloak because it's not like a robe, right?
It's a wizard's cloak. Like, can you give us a little tour, everyone?
Yes, hang on, because it's not like a wizard's cloak. It's not, I promise.
It looks like a wizard's cloak. Okay, everyone, please check out the YouTube page if you're not already watching. This is amazing.
But like,
wow, work it. Oh, is it reversible?
No. See, you're making me reveal that I am dressed in like the absolute slobbiest of sweats.
Okay, I'm wearing my sweatshirt and my pajama pants. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, listen. It's one of those days. No, it's like a sweat. It's like a shawl. That's the freaking name for it. I almost swore on that one. It's like a shawl, and it's got like spider print. It's like a Spider-Man, like adjacent kind of thing. And hang on, guys. It has a frocket. We love.
What's that? Wait, I'm sorry. What is a frocket?
A front pocket. Have you really never heard that before?
I've never heard of a frocket. I'm all about pockets. But it was just with the Met Gala, like.
Wait a minute. Wait, hang on. I'm so upset by this because like you guys can't see this part, but our producer Francisco, who's behind the scenes, who we love dearly and appreciate, he makes us sound as good as we do. So guys, please give all the love to Francisco. But he's saying that he's never heard the word frocket before ever. This is a term, guys. It started because of the they're not sorority shirts. What are they called? They're like the spirit jersey type things. But at least when I went to college, a lot of the fraternity and sorority ones, they had pockets right here on that like that left breast, and it's a front pocket, so it's a frocket. You're making me feel insane. Is this really?
Well, because I love a pocket all the time, and it was like just at the Met Gala, which I don't know how I'm still talking about the Met Gala, but
okay.
And Dua Lipa was wearing that like a Chanel bride dress, and it had pockets, and the internet is freaking out. They're like, it has pockets, and I always do this, and I think it's like so funny because I think everyone does this. Is it's like anytime you're like, oh, I like your dress, and then it's like, thanks, it has pockets.
Thanks. Yep. Listen, this is like uniquely a female thing, right? And because like women, we don't get pockets on things. Like if you're a man and you're watching this, first of all, thanks for being here. I didn't expect you. Nice to see you. But I need you to understand, men, like if your girlfriend is listening to this in the background, like we don't get pockets on things. And if we do, they're like this deep. They're not real pockets. They're fake pockets. They're fockets. I don't know if that's a word. That sounds a little bit like I'm saying a different word, but like so pockets are essential, and dresses with pockets are the best. And listen, I feel very passionately about pockets, and my shawl. It's not a cloak, it's a shawl. But what I can do is I can give myself like a very like a regal opera look.
You look like you're in a straitjacket when you do that.
Listen, I need to be in a straitjacket. Here's the freeze frame. Here's the thumbnail for this week's episode. Ready?
Ka-ching. Okay, wait, because I know, like, again, the Met Gala was so long ago, but again, I'm still freaking out. You know who also looked good at the Met Gala, who was on today's episode, who I already kind of revealed accidentally already?
She fully let it slip within the first 30 seconds. She's like, is this related to Christina Ricci? Guys, we have Christina Ricci on the episode with us today. And you know what? It's like unintentionally on theme, but like we do get into a fashion discussion in our interview with Christina Ricci, specifically about like pants and leggings and jeans and whatnot. But so I'm going to choose, I'll say I did this on purpose. I totally have that kind of coordination and foresight. I absolutely thought this through, 100%.
We're not just going on random tangents here.
No,
never. As you'll hear in like the first 30 seconds, we are obsessed with Christina and her work. I mean, we grew up watching her and idolizing her, and I still am obsessed with her.
Same. I watch Casper every year, every time it's part of the Freeform 31 Nights of Halloween. It's my go-to. And I'm not big on Halloween movies. Like, I'll be super honest. I'm like, Halloween is not my favorite holiday. I think it's actually one of my least favorite holidays. Judge me all you want. I don't even care. Candy, great. The rest of Halloween, throw it in the trash. Don't need it. So I don't really get super into it. But when Casper comes around, you can bet that I'm going to be watching that one.
Yes. And I mean, we talk about this too. I mean, I just wanted to be her. Devon Sawa, I think, is my first crush. She was that with him, and then Now and Then with him.
Dude, Devon Sawa was it for a little bit. And you know what's funny is he just posted the other day, he was reposted by a friend of the podcast, Jodie Sweetin. You can go back and listen to her episode. He posted, like, I think that he said that for Halloween they're going as sweet and sour, like Jodie Sweetin, Devon's a sweet and sour chicken. And I genuinely lolled.
I'm losing it.
I was like, that's really, really clever. And I reacted to it, and Jodie messaged me and she goes, no, this, like, he does this all of the time. So I'm going to ask her for some of his best, but man, Devon Sawa, we love you, man. You're still the move.
He's so cool. I think, and I realized I point this out too. There's like a lot of comparisons between like Now and Then and Casper. And I don't bring this up in the interview, but like his character, Casper, becomes a ghost because he like dies because he's out in the cold for too long. Mm-hmm. And then in like Yellowjackets, like, I mean, hopefully y'all are watching it.
No, but stop it! Don't.
I mean, I couldn't say anything, but this isn't the first season, but someone does pass away from like the cold, and I'm like,
I don't mean for spoilers. I mean, that's just a really sad connection. Like, that's a really bleak parallel. Okay, you shouldn't be well into spoilers at this point.
Those are like the only two movies I've ever seen where that happens. So Christina's in both of those, and then there's another, just so many comparisons I think between Yellowjackets and Now and Then that I get into as well.
She does do that. It's actually kind of impressive. Let's just show them. I really want them to see. I think it's time because like the leaps, it's not even a leap. Just like the connections your brain drew are so impressive to me. So let's roll it.
Let's roll it. Thank you all for indulging yourself in today's tangent with Andy and I. And get yourself a cloak. What is it called?
It's not a cloak. It's a shawl. Just go. Play the interview.
Play the interview.
Christina, hello and welcome to UnWrapped. Hi, thank you so much for talking to us today. We start every interview the same way, and that is to say, how are you? Genuinely, how are you doing today? The world is overwhelming at best. So how are you actually?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been very busy and my life is chaos, but you know, we're all still keeping our heads above water, I guess, right?
Good. Listen, you don't have to thrive. That's what Emily and I say all the time. You don't have to thrive. You just have to survive. And
yeah.
We are getting through. Emily, how are you doing today? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be chatting today. So we have lots of fun stuff to cover.
Oh my God, same. We're going to fangirl. We're going to get the fangirling out of the way very early in this interview.
Okay.
We can be
normal. I can't believe how shiny I am. I apologize. I have no powder.
You're beautiful. Stop it. We don't worry about things like that here. But yes, no, let's get into it. For me, it's going to be Casper. I love Casper. I have loved Casper for years. It's very upsetting to me that it's apparently 28 this year, which is
upsetting to all of us, frankly.
I know. Yeah. It's so odd. I was going to start this interview trying to incorporate like, can I keep you? But then I was like, that's like a weird thing to say to someone you've literally just met. So not going to do that, but I'm just going to say I'm a fan of yours.
No, thank you so much.
Me too. With Devon Sawa, I was like, oh my gosh. And then also Now and Then, you're in that with him. And I thought Roberta was the coolest person. And I kind of have a little hot take. And I think that Yellowjackets is kind of like a darker version of Now and Then, because like instead of the treehouse, you have the cabin, you have like seances. I think Chrissy would probably be like Misty, Tina would be Jackie. So I'm curious now, like, is it weird being a part of the adult version of actors? And do you and Samantha Hanratty, who plays Teen Misty in Yellowjackets, have the same relationship that you and Rosie O'Donnell did for Now and Then?
I do think it is weird. It's weird for me. Well, I think this happens for most people who start really young in an industry. You know, I was always the youngest anywhere. Youngest at a table, youngest at work. So it is weird to be amongst the older group now. But I've gotten used to it. as one has to. And I would say that Samantha and I have much more of a relationship than I had with Rosie O'Donnell on that movie. The older cast of that movie only came in for a week of shooting at the end of the shoot. None of us really spoke to them beforehand. And with Samantha and I, we're in contact, and we text and DM, and we had conversations about the character before the first season. And still, we'll check in with each other. Sometimes sometimes the past is mirrored in the present. And they'll do that with repeating an action that, the younger cast will, the younger character will do, and then the older version does. And so whoever does that first will sets how the other person does it. So we're in contact about things like that while we're shooting. And then she and I have done lots of press together and stuff, which has been super fun. And that's interesting because, people ask me all the time, like, what advice do you give? And sort of like, well, she's 26 years old, she's an adult, and she's been acting since she was like 5 years old. So I don't really have any advice to give her in terms of being an actress and being on set, and she's a total professional, so talented, does not need my condescension at all. But I have found that what is interesting is that, when we go to do press, I feel like there I can really tell that how much older I am than her, and I can sort of help in a way to, I can be helpful in that situation or supportive in a way that she doesn't, it's not that she needs it then, but there it feels more appropriate, I guess.
Yeah. Emily, I want to give you props. I know how big a fan of Now and Then you are, and so the way that you held your cool in that moment was
I know, I did pretty good.
Really well done. I'm thinking you're like Casper, and she's like, I'm really a big fan. So that was really well done.
I know it's weird.
Well, Christina, I mean, you talk about doing press with kind of these younger actresses. I'm very curious about how this works just in general, right? Like doing press and being on set. It feels like there's very much kind of this like mentor-mentee relationship that could be baked in. Is it nice having that, right? Because I feel like in the industry, I'm making assumptions here, but like you would have to, on some projects, maybe go out of your way to find like a mentor kind of situation. I just like talk to me about having that access to each other. Like, is it nice for you to kind of be able to be that person for her if she needed it? Obviously, again,
yeah.
I mean,
I'm always happy. I like being helpful. I like being somebody I like helping people, and I like being someone who can have answers for someone else. She's never needed me. She doesn't need me. But it is nice to know that if there is a question about the character or any of that stuff, that she and I can speak to each other.
Does it make doing press easier for you having her, because
having another person there? Yeah, it's always nice to do it with someone else, because then you don't have to answer all the questions. Someone else can do it. You get half as many, basically.
I want to jump in too, because I feel like we also talk a lot about with WrapWomen in our Power Women Summit about how the mentor-mentee relationship kind of can go both ways. Are there things that you're also learning from her? Because I think she's so cool. Like her TikToks are unreal. They're epic.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things that she has helped me with or guided me through, and it is the generations are very different. And a lot of sort of the social aspects of the younger generation and rules almost are so different than what we had in our 20s. And so she has helped me with certain things, for sure.
Emily, have you had that moment yet?
Not being an old lady.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'll toss half the questions to Emily, Christina, so you can split it here. But I mean, like you have those moments. But like, Emily, have you had that moment yet? Because I had someone recently. She's only like 4 years younger than I am, but she told me like there was something that like we weren't. I think it was like a disagreement on like taste or something, and she's like, "Yeah, it must be a generational thing." And I was like, "I'm like 4 years older than you. This is not okay with me." Have you, like, Emily?
Oh, I don't mean that 4 years older is not
It's
That,
not,
that
right?
is not an acceptable generational difference. I'm talking
Thank
like 15 years or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry,
now-
that question was for Emily, and I just
No,
took
No,
it.
no,
I
no, no. This is
apologize.
no. We're just chatting. We're just having a good time. No, I think, you know, I recently, because someone younger than me, and I think it was my sister, told me that I needed to stop wearing skinny jeans. So now I have like more loose fit jeans, and they're
But
really
apparently the
comfy
skinny
and
jeans
fun.
are about to come right back. So
Okay, good, because I kept them all just for that
Yeah.
purpose. Okay.
yeah, they're about to come
You-
right back. I
you
did the
heard it
same thing. I
here.
switched to straight jeans, and then recently I was, well, whatever. I've just heard
Okay.
that I think it's about diversity of jeans, really.
Ooh, okay.
Like you have different jeans that you wear with different things because they make sense. I think that is more the kind of the space that we're going towards.
Guys, I live my life in jeggings, and I do mean jeggings.
Oh.
They are jean leggings. They're leggings that look like jeans. They're not actually denim because fuck
I
that
had a
material.
period of those, and it was really great. Really,
They're
really
comfy. They're
comfortable.
just
Mhm.
they're great. Have you guys gotten the tutelage? That's not the right word, but like the scolding for like emojis, because apparently like the crying laughing emoji that makes us old now.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't-
that makes us old.
Oh, I
it's
didn't
all about
know
the
that.
skull
yeah, it's all about
or
the
the
skull.
coffin,
If you're
like dead.
yeah,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I generally just send hearts and the heart with the love, like, oh, I feel so much love right now. That one.
You
Good.
really did
Well, I
look
mean,
like
that's
the
good.
emoji. The one.
That's probably like a good indication of where you are of like the people that you're talking to, at least.
Well,
of the
also
conversations you're
my
having.
other favorite is like the really nervous, like that
Really,
emoji.
like-
That's my favorite one.
Yes, I thrive in that emoji. Well, so we're talking about kind of the younger generations and whatnot. You've mentioned before that you feel like it has gotten better, like the industry, Hollywood in general, has gotten better for young women. I would very much be interested in knowing, does it feel like it's just like it's a continuing thing, like it's still just a lot of ongoing work? Like, does it feel to you that there are still strides that need to be made, or is it happening at a like good gradual progression? What is kind of like, what are you seeing from your side?
I mean, I've seen a lot of progress. I think, young women in this industry and young actors in this industry, male and female or otherwise, have a lot more agency and say, and their boundaries are respected in a much different way than what we experienced, or what I experienced when I was younger. And so I think in many ways, like it's changed so much, and people are way more protected and feel more comfortable. I always see improvement to be made. I think we're not like completely there, just in terms of just in general respecting people, and there's I think gender bias isn't the only issue that people should tackle. I think there's a lot of elitism and just things like that. But I definitely think that we've made so much progress, and we continue to progress.
Optimism. I like it. Listen, we'll get there eventually, right? Maybe, hopefully.
So now I want to talk a little bit about your character, Misty, Misty, sorry. And she's kind of like great. Like she's a little bit of I think a psychopath. Like she is a killer. She's a killer. But at the same time, when I'm watching that, I should be like, this is someone who I hate. Like she's I don't know if like it's bad to say the word crazy, like if that, like, but she's crazy. But then I also just want to give her a hug. Like when people are talking about her behind her back, and I just like feel so sad. And then I realized, I think it's in episode 2, season 7. And there's that like trippy, cool scene that you have. And she really, she's looking in the mirror and realizes that she is just someone who's desperate for love. And I just feel like I identified with that so much, because I was seeing myself in her, and, as whether it's a girl or now, it's just someone that you just want to feel loved and appreciated, and that everything's going to be okay. So my question for that is, how are you able to balance being a psychopath with being someone who feels empathy from the audience, and someone who also, you want to feel for?
Well, I don't consider that at all. For me, that scene that you're talking about was about her taking on like she's finally allowed it to come in that maybe she's a bad person for the things she's done. But that in that scene, for me playing the part, it was more about her realizing that actually there's so much value in what she does and what she does for the group, and that she doesn't need to feel bad about the things that she's done that are considered bad or amoral. And finally her coming right, but like she questioned herself for a moment. I don't think it happens very often. And she came right back to where she was, which is like, no, I'm a pragmatist. I protect my friends. It's fine. So for me, like, I never play the desperate for love thing. I never consider it. I for me as the character, I always want her to be as strong and proactive as possible. I think probably, you know, as an actress, I probably, when you, it's hard to say because I'm not a method actor, but I think when you embody another person for a certain period of time, just naturally the two egos get kind of convoluted and mixed up. So for me, like, just like I would never want to show any weakness in my life as her character, like I just never want to play that part of her. And it's interesting because that part still comes through somehow. But it's never something that I focus on. I think that it's very much in the writing, and because it's in the writing in such a strong way, it's not something that I have to play into as much.
Right.
But expounding on that topic, since you play these characters where there is kind of this sociopathic element to them, I'm curious, just from an acting perspective, what is the hardest part of, like, is there ever a point where you have found it hard to find empathy, to find like things that you like about a character? How do you get in there? Like, have you ever struggled to?
Well, I also don't feel like you need to like a person to play them. I've heard that a lot from other people, that you have to like a character to play them. And I just don't think that's true for me personally, not other people. Everyone, it's such a personal art form, I think, that everybody needs different things. But for me, I don't need to like a person to be able to empathize with their struggles, to understand. You kind of have to, for me, I have to be able to understand their logic, their motivation, why their thought process. But I don't have to like it, and I don't have to like them. So I find Misty incredibly entertaining. Is she somebody that I would ever even look in the eye in a public place because I'd be afraid that she'd speak to me? I would never. I mean, this is a very toxic person. But she's really entertaining and fun. And that's sort of, so in terms of liking or not liking, that's as deep as it goes for me. But I do completely understand her thought process. I agree with her that she's a pragmatist. I don't think that these crimes that she commits are as terrible. Like, even in the scenes, like, we have a lot of scenes where people are like, and you killed 2 people and can't believe you did this. And I'm always like, even as Christina, just like, I don't understand why we keep saying this, because what she did totally makes sense to me, So like, she's saying it, I'm saying it. Like, I guess it's not about affection. It's more sort of like understanding.
And I think that's such a good point, because I feel like there is also a moment where everyone's like, again, like, I can't believe you did this. And she's like, I did it for the greater group of the good. Like, and, there is logic. And I like how, when you called her like toxic, because I hate calling women crazy. Like, I didn't want to be like, she's crazy, but I think there is some sort of toxicity. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, she's not someone you want to get too close to, because she just can't seem to help but, bad things seem to happen to everyone around her. Even when she's trying to not, even when she really is trying to help or save, or it just, she's just a bit of a toxic person.
Yeah. Like, she thinks she's doing everything right. Like, in her mind, she's like, guys, but this is right. Like, I'm just trying to help, but it's just.
But I think it's because she lacks a very basic sort of morality that the rest of us have. She doesn't really have a sort of like intrinsic understanding of society or how even relationships work. So it's sort of like watching a toddler, in an adult body trying to act like an adult or have adult relationships or any of these things. And I think it's just because there's no innate sort of it's all so fabricated for her because she doesn't have it naturally that she ends up making a lot of mistakes.
I love your
mistakes.
approach in like understanding the logic of someone, right? Because this is how it's not even like because I'm not an actor, so I don't look at characters. I mean, I assess characters in terms of just criticisms and whatnot. But this is just how I look at people. Like if people do things that I don't like, it's fine as long as I understand it. If there's I really get stuck on things when I can't find the logic to something. It really sticks with me. This is something I talk about in therapy like all of the time because my therapist will be like, "So it sounds like you're mad about this, but like you get it." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. If there's a logic to it, I can understand it and I can accept it a little bit easier." So I love that approach. I love it so much.
And I even think you can empathize with somebody and their problems, but still not like the person.
Yeah.
And I find that I do that a lot in life.
I think it's in the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, where like you get so annoyed with them, but then you kind of just have to imagine people like golden retrievers who just like think that they're doing the right thing. And then,
I don't think anybody, I think you really have to consider, I don't think anybody like there aren't that many people who know they're being terrible. You know what I mean? Or who know they're doing something awful. They have different motivations, they have different intentions, but I don't think anybody really I mean, I don't think that many people in life are like evil masterminds, you know?
But there are some. There are certainly
there are definitely some. I know a few, but there aren't that many.
What were you hanging out with, Christina? You, like casually dropping. I know some
bad choices. You know, we all make bad choices.
That's where she uses this emoji, the nervous.
Yeah, that's where the nervous emoji comes in. Exactly.
The super apologetic emoji.
So one of my going back to the series itself, I love season 2 because you really see all of the women come back together at Lottie's Wellness Center, and they do all of these things, whether it's the goat with like taking care of a goat, or you go through this like the lack sensory whatever
right
thing. I forget what those are
called.
Float tank. The float tank. Yes, I'm always too scared to try those, but
I would never go in one. I don't want to
literally never
alone with myself and no stimulation. I do not want to be alone with my thoughts.
Yeah, like especially when you see that vision too.
Oh, I want to go on a tangent so bad, Emily. You just made me remember something. Keep going with your question so I don't derail us.
So, but for you, Christina, how do you take care of your own mental health?
I don't know. I mean, I work a lot and then I have a baby and an 8-year-old. So my days are really busy, really full. I don't actually do very much. That's for me, I do sometimes really enjoy flying because then I can read. I love reading a book on a plane but I don't really have a lot of downtime regularly. So I don't actually do much for myself.
Stresses me out for you a little bit. Are you good? Like, are you okay?
I mean, I'm stressed. I'm stressed out. I gotta admit, stressed and I'm tired.
But
one of my kids also is having sleep regression issues, so it doesn't end.
No,
like the days don't end. So yeah,
we're so thankful amidst your busy schedule that you're taking a bit to talk with us and things.
No. I mean, that's not to make anyone feel guilty or bad for me, but you asked.
I did. Now, kind of with that same thing, obviously we talked about how Missy has, various issues. I think, maybe like some anxiety, perfectionism, and a bunch of other stuff too. Various mental health issues, I think. And I know, in the past you've opened up about, your journey as a young person, struggling with anxiety, depression, and eating disorder. Cause like same, like I think a lot of our listeners have. But like looking back now, what would you, if young Christina was here, like what would you tell her?
I went through a lot of things when I was younger that were very difficult to deal with, that had nothing to do with my professional career. I had a lot of abuse as a child and childhood trauma that led ultimately to me, acting out and coping in ways that weren't good and all this stuff. And there was no discussion at that time about trauma and about recovering from those things, about PTSD, all that stuff. So I think I would probably just explain to her why she was going through the things she was going through and how they were attached to things she had suffered in her past. And about, I think just someone understanding that allows them to separate the chaos in their head from what's actually going on in reality. Because, the problem with trauma is that you're still experiencing, it's as though those things are still going on, even though your life is okay and you're safe now and all that stuff. So I think that would be my biggest thing that I would explain to my younger self. It would have been helpful to know at that age.
Yeah, the understanding of it all, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, would you even for either one of you, would you even, I think about this all of the time. Would you even want to meet your younger self or like your future self? I think about time travel all the time. I don't think I would want to even like talk to my younger self. I don't think that would go well.
I always think like I would just want to give my younger self I always talk, in therapy, I just want to give her like a big hug and be like, it's gonna be okay.
That's how I feel too. I have so much compassion and empathy, and now especially that I have an 8-year-old child, I feel very bad for that little girl, the little girl I was.
Yeah. And I think too, even now when there is something that I'm going through or, I'm feeling sad about something or there's anything going on, just kind of there's still that part of me, and think about if I was my older self, hugging myself now, because sometimes there's no one to hug, and you just need to be it's going to be okay. And I think that's an important thing that I do for myself. We talk about mental health a lot.
No, but I'm the same. I talk to myself as though I'm a little girl when I'm really upset or I'm having a really hard time. I speak to myself as though I'm my own mother.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot in my head, and when I'm going through things, there's a lot of negative self-talk. But when I think about it, I would never say those things to a young child, know?
This
I would never, if I had a photo, and I my therapist told me to do this and I need to, is you put a photo of yourself when you're young, because I would never say any of the things that I tell myself now to my friends or to that little girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know. I have this struggle all the time, literally working on this in therapy right now. Self-image, self-confidence is just simply not great. And so and literally we were talking about this last week. I was like, yeah, I was the weird kid in high school. And she was like, why were you the weird kid? And why do you think you're still the weird kid? The things that made you weird then maybe make you great now. And I was like, I'm not well adjusted enough to accept that yet, but we are working on it. That is the point of saying that is weird. It's a journey. So I hope to some point get to where you both are, where you can kind of talk to and feel that kind of that love for your younger self. So optimism, again, I like it.
Yeah, it is a journey for sure.
Well, so as we are getting toward the end of our time with you, Christina, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time. One thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast is just, at least for me, when I'm watching a project, I feel like I can always tell just when there's a female energy guiding it, right? And that's the thing about Yellowjackets. It is, you have just all these women on the cast. It was co-created by a woman. What difference does that make on the show? Because there's nuances to these relationships and to how these women, how your character is portrayed. So for you, I mean, obviously you've been on many a project. How does this compare? Do you feel a difference when there is a woman or women kind of at the forefront of things?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think as an actress, the biggest thing that I've noticed about Yellowjackets is there's just absolutely no focus on the way we look, which is so interesting. I've never been on a project like that. Absolutely no focus on how we look. There's no real room for vanity. And none of the characters require vanity because we're not supposed to be sex symbols. And I think that's so wonderful that there's nobody on the show, even amongst the younger cast, that is supposed to be this sex symbol or portrayed in that way. And there's, like I said, there's just no focus on making us prettier or making us sexy or any of that stuff. And to me, that is very different. And I mean, maybe I'm being gender biased, but I do feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that it's really female led.
Yeah. I mean, especially the youngins, they were in a plane crash, so you absolutely shouldn't be looking fine.
No, it's just it's all about what makes sense. It's we're so focused on the story and the reality and the emotions and all of, you know, the logic in it, that it's that there's just no room for that kind of thing. But I do feel like if it wasn't so female led, they would make room for that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, we had Melanie Linsky on the podcast a while ago, and we were talking about, you know, her characters, like especially in the first season when we were talking about it. You know, she's pretty sexual, and that we were speaking about how there was obviously she was talking about the body shaming that happened on set, but the fact that, you know, it's women, like we don't. She's like, show the roles and show that, like, I'm a woman, like we don't need it to make it like I'm the sex symbol, lose weight, like this is women everywhere, this is what we look like, and we have sex.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of grounded in reality in our show, and I guess there's no objectification in our show, which I guess is really why all of it is the way it is.
Right. That's so nice. Oh, okay. I love
Amen.
this. I love ending on a shout out to Melanie Linsky. Melanie, we love you. You're great.
I love
You're
Melanie.
incredible.
Melonie's great.
I just am so envious of you that you just get to work with her on like a regular basis. You get to text her if you want to. So just, you're living the dream. Really, that is the dream. But Christina, that is just about our time with you. Thank you again so much for having this conversation with us today and taking the time to chat with us. Even when you're run down and you're stressed, we love and appreciate you. We love and appreciate the show. And we're excited to see what you keep doing with it. Emily slipped earlier and mentioned that it was on season 7. It is not, but maybe someday.
I said 7. Oh, I said 2nd.
Well, you meant episode 7.
Oh, episode 7.
Yeah, and you flipped it. And I was like, oh, we're on. Okay, great.
Wait
a minute. That's not me. That's not me calling you out.
We're not there yet.
Happy thinking.
Manifesting. But thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it, guys. Bye.
Bye.
We're back. Emily, question for you. I say this with so much love. What is Christina's
like I know
character?
What you're gonna say.
Yeah, you do. Christina's character in Yellowjackets. What's her name?
It's Misty. I know. I kept getting I love the show. I'm obsessed with the show. And then I was getting in my head because I was so excited, and I kept calling her Misty. And I was like, wait, is it Misty? Misty? I was so embarrassed. And I also messed up that other point too. Like, what is going on with me? I need a vacation.
You do need a vacation. And to be clear, when I called out that other point, again, with love, like I'm never at any point trying to be like, Emily messed up. Because like, listen, here's the thing though about like you messing up like that. That's like the realest, like we're fans of the people we're talking to, guys. So like we're
try
professional,
to play cool, but
like, right. We're professionals to a point. We very much try to play it cool. It doesn't always go well. Sometimes you get excited. I flub my words all of the time. But so yes, just to be clear, you do know that her character's name is Misty.
I know. I love Misty. I love her. But speaking of I need a vacation, Andy, we didn't mention this before because I was like so or like sidetracked by your cloak shawl.
My shloak, as we have decided to call it, I think. I say we've decided as in like I didn't just make it up. It's a shloak is what I think it's going to be called. Yes. No, I'm like on vacation currently. Guys, this is movie magic, except it's not a movie, so podcast magic. I'm on vacation right now. So we are taping this very, very close to me leaving for the airport to go to London and Scotland, which like I've brought up in probably like every interview we've done in the past couple of weeks. And I mean, just because like these people are all really well traveled. So of course I'm going to get recommendations. I got a list of recommendations from someone whose name I'm not going to tell you right now, but an upcoming guest on UnWrapped. She gave me a whole list, and I wish I had the time to do all of them, but definitely hit up some of them. But yeah, so when you're watching this, I will be very, very close to, this is the 19th that you are watching this, maybe afterwards. So if you're watching this on the 19th, I'm definitely still a whole ocean away. If you're watching it after that, I might be home. I don't know, but I needed a vacation, so I took one. You should do it too, Emily. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, like after you mess up every pronunciation and everything, yes, I do need a vacation.
Yes, please run away and hide in another country. You should be ashamed of yourself.
But Andy, I'm so excited for the content that's coming. Everyone must follow Andy because I cannot wait.
Yeah, it feels weird to say like follow me because like I haven't left yet. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you like have been following me on Instagram at really_Andy. I don't do cool things very often. I'm not Emily. I don't go to Fashion Week. I don't go to premieres because I live in Chicago, which like that sounds super bitter. I love where I live. I really do. But now that I've got somewhere that I'm going, like that's exciting. You best believe that. I'm going to Scotland. If I see cows, the Midwest in me is going to jump out and I'm going to scream cows. And then I'm going to probably immediately post a picture of them. I'll send Emily a picture of them.
I can't wait. Also, I want to clarify, like, Andy is making me sound way cooler than like I actually am. I'm going to all of these events and stuff for work. So yeah.
Yeah, but we work at the same place and I don't get to go to like these cool things. People just like you better, Emily. I didn't get invited to Denver. You did.
No.
That
But
sounds
yeah.
so bitter. Hang on to the series, the wonderful Series Fest people who invited Emily out. You absolutely made the right call. I'm just giving her a hard time. I'm an only
They're
child, so I
watching
like to
this
be bitter about things.
as we're saying this, they're like, oh, it makes sense. They don't want us both in the same place. Chaos.
And they're probably like, God, they're really unhinged when they're together. Maybe we don't bring them out. Lord, this is listen, I like where our energy is at today. Today has been a fun one.
On one. But Andy mentioned that some of our upcoming guests have given her a lot of awesome suggestions of places to travel while she's in Europe. We're not going to announce those people yet, but we do announce them ahead of time.
But like you can guess, like really use your noggins and you can probably piece together a couple of these people.
Yes, definitely. But we do announce our guests ahead of time on our WrapWomen Instagram, which is at WrapWomen, and on Twitter at TheWrapWomen. And also, please check out our WrapWomen newsletter, which you can subscribe to at WrapWomen.com. And of course, check out Andy. You can also follow me on Instagram at Emily Vogel, please, and on TikTok at Emily Vogel, please, because we love posting our interviews and content from these conversations, and we love hearing your feedback. And so please share like what you want to hear more of, who you want to hear from, and just your own personal experiences. If you can relate to what we're talking about, we'd love to hear that too. And yeah, follow Andy's European adventure. Andy, throw your handles.
At really_Andy, because really Andy was taken. Really_Andy, and it is Andy with an I. A lot of people are calling me Andy with a Y lately. Don't know why.
I've noticed that in our email chains.
Yeah, right? Like it's no bad blood. I'm
like,
confused. Like it's right there.
I'll be your buzz or Andy with a Y.
Thank you.
No, it's Woody. No, I'll be your Woody. What is that? No, it goes Andy, because I just think of like the bottom of his shoe and it says Andy with a Y.
It is Andy with a Y.
Okay.
I have hang on.
I don't know what's about to happen, but again, if you are listening this, you can also check it out on TheWrap's YouTube page. Oh my God, it is Woody and Buzz. Oh my God, that's very serendipitous.
If serendipitous, like I didn't absolutely plan it, you best believe that I went. Actually, if you scroll far enough back on my Instagram page, I went as Andy's toys because I am Andy. So I went
all of the
for
toys?
Halloween. Not all of them, but one year I had like a three costume change day. So I was Woody, and I even like down to the boot. I put Andy, but I put it with an I on my boot. I was Buzz Lightyear, and I was also Mr. Potato Head because I do in fact have an inflatable Mr. Potato Head costume. So if you scroll far enough back, and I say far enough back, I don't have a ton of Instagram posts, so it's not going to take you very long to find it, but like I promise it's there.
I'm just going to point something out. At the beginning of this episode, you talked about how much like you hate Halloween, and it sounds like you thrive on Halloween.
I mean, okay, fine. I like dressing up in costumes, but I don't. It's a weird thing. We'll have to have like a full conversation about that.
We're gonna have a full Halloween episode.
We really should, because like it's a complicated relationship that I have. But if you are
on
still
Facebook,
with us,
it's complicated. If you're with us,
if you're still with us at this point, God, we love and appreciate you. But we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna let you go on with your lives, and I promise our energy. It might very well be the same next week. Who knows? You never really know.
Come back, and he's gonna come out with a British accent. We'll see. But yeah, we'll let you all go. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're still here, thank you so much, and we will see y'all next week. Bye,
guys.